Hey, it's Yash. You know when I really realized this dynamic, how strong the imagination is and how it can just make somebody believe things that's like, whoa, heavy. I was talking to somebody. This was during the whole pandemic thing. And, there's people, like, there's so many theories out there that people get into. And especially the town I'm in, a little bit sometimes, like, I don't know, because I'm not drawn to that situation, but when I walk by, like, they're at the table, and that's just all they talk about, But the thing that they were talking about, I always wanted, you see, I'm pretty good with getting to the bottom of things, So there was a guy, and he's pretty smart, and he was talking about how this person that would run the country was into some really deep, debaucherous, like dark stuff, And I'm like, really? How do you know, man? Because what? You just read it on the internet, and I'm condensing it. I'm getting it down to that. We talked and talked, and I'm like, okay, but how do you really know? And then this surprised me. He said, I saw it. I said, what do you mean you saw it? He says, come on, you've done plant medicine, you can see stuff. I said, so you're saying you remote viewed them. You went like back in time, right? Because if you're in the causal world, there's no time. You tapped into the Ashrik records in a living, actual way, and visited that point in space and saw what he was doing. Is that what you're saying? He's like, yeah. I said, okay. I think we're done. I think I got my answer. When you get to that level, like, what are you going to do? What else can you say? What are you going to say? No, you didn't. So, but I realized the mechanism in the mind, how strong and believable, deceitful that the mind can be. It's like, what are you going to do? You can't do anything. So same thing with the spiritual world. And I've had people who, they think there's some Messiah. We did a little work, and they come into some realization, and they think they're here to just save the world now. And see, there's a lot of people like that, but they can't do the self-introspection to detect. A good self-inquiry question for this, if you're ready, is this. Especially, and this applies to all the people who ask, like, spiritual teachers, well, what about the world? How do we help the world? How do we help the planet? How do we help the children? There's a million different things you can help. But they're passionate about this one thing, and they can't understand how we're sitting here talking about self-realization when there's all this suffering. Like, I think that should be a separate video, yeah? Anyway, I'm making a point. They feel very compelled, like, I gotta help, and or I gotta save the world, or I'm a spiritual teacher and I need to save everybody. Get that in religion even more. And a really good self-inquiry question is this. When you're feeling to save the world, or help the planet, or go teach people, where's that coming from? Is that the cosmic energy, the God energy that's moving you to do that? Or is it mind energy? Is it ego energy? You got to be at a mature enough place to answer that question, though. And let me tell you, I was 20, I don't know, I always say 22 about anytime I'm talking about my 20s, because I can't, I don't know. I'm 47 now, so that's like 25 years ago. And it's just kind of like, number one, I don't really care about the exact age. And number two, it's just kind of like all goes together, like 20s. Let's just say 20s, and then 30s, and then 40. Sometimes I forget my age. I'm not lying. And I feel good about it. It's authentic. Now, I'm not like way off. I don't think I'm 20 again, although I feel that way sometimes. But I get off, I lose like one number. I'm like, and I got to do the math. Fortunately, I'm good in math, so I figure it out pretty quick. But I'm like, am I 48 or 47? I just forget, I was in my early 20s, and I was writing a book. And this self-inquiry question came to me. It's like, are you really, because it was causing me a lot of stress when I was writing this book. Something felt like maybe it's not the time. And I'm writing about spiritual subjects and balance and everything, and I wasn't very balanced. I could tell when I was writing it. So I'm like, so a higher self-inquiry question came, is like, is this God really moving you to write this book? In the mind, answer immediately, yes. Look at how much energy and passion you have. You have to, like, clearly this is God. Now when I look back in retrospect, no, it was mind and the emotional fervor and passion. See, when something comes more from the universe, this is kind of more cool, and there's not an attachment to it. And it's not this restless energy like, save the world. It's not there. Because when you're coming from mind, when you have projections, you have things that you want to work out a certain way. If I do a certain thing, that needs to work out how my projection is. And no, it may not. Let's say there was a bunch of starving people, for example. Maybe they're just fasting. And you get all this food and you fly in a helicopter and give it to them, and they don't like it. It's a different culture. They're like, no, we don't want that food. This happened, they weren't starving, but this happened, I'll tell you about it in a minute. Or they ate it and maybe they got sick. Or, look, we don't know. That's my point. And then you get mad and resentful, like, what's wrong with these stupid people? You had so much love and compassion for them a minute ago, but then they wouldn't accept your help, or your help didn't work out the way that you wanted it to work out, and so now you're mad at them. Now you're resentful at them. This is happening all the time. It's all the time. We got to surrender, give our life up back to God, give everyone else's life back to God, and then let's see what happens. God's running the whole show, not your ideas or my ideas or anyone else. We don't know what the world needs. It's too deep. It's too deep. There's so many hellish situations that could produce an awakening. My own life, that's how I know. I wanted somebody to get rid of this medical situation that was torturing me all the time. God damn it, God, can't you get rid of this? You see how much this is suffering? And I didn't realize he was doing me the biggest favor. We don't know. That's my point. What was the story I was going to share? Oh, there was a woman here. We got along really good. She's in New York now. She's a nurse. She has nurse energy. Her destiny is definitely to be in the medical field. She likes the psych ward. Special character, And she has a very a nice, loving, nurturing female energy. She's doing her dharma. She even looks like a doctor, She's in that archetype. So but she's also a good cook, and she made a restaurant here, and because she's a really good cook. And she had a big house around, and she had workers working, and she's like, she felt, I'm gonna make them a really good dinner, and she can, because she can cook. I can see now why guys will marry a woman just because she can cook good, because I can just see. I'm not going to, but I understand. So she made these workers like 5-star dinners, right, or lunches, whatever. And the first time she did it, they kind of just looked at their plate, and so maybe made themselves eat a little bit. But then after like the third day, they kept doing that, and she was noticing it, but just couldn't. It didn't occur to her that maybe they don't like her food. Like, that's impossible. That's what I would say too. Like, that's impossible. You can't not like that food. Finally, the guy, they probably got together and were like, look, we're getting hungry. We need to say something, because we're not like eating our food. I don't know, maybe they'd throw it away and she couldn't see or something. So the one guy said, can we just get almuerzos for lunch? Now, in Ecuador, almuerzo is basically just rice and chicken, or chicken and rice. That's what it is. In the same soup over and over again. But they like it. She gives them almuerzos. They just light up, you know. And they can eat that all the time. I don't like it. That's like emergency food for me. Like if I'm starving or something, I'll get that. So, we don't know. Our projections don't always add up and match. We don't know. Best, you let this inner feeling dictate what's happening, what's going on, what to do, what not to do. We don't know. There's some people in the street, don't have any money. I feel an inner sanction to give them something. There's another person, maybe I don't feel it. He's also in the street and doesn't have money. There's somehow it's some energetic thing. The universe is like, no, let him be. We don't know. Maybe there's some lesson he has to learn. And the other guy, maybe the lesson is for me to give or something, or we don't know. Can't figure this out. You know how deep this matrix is? Isn't that relaxing to just chill and be like, yeah, I can't figure nothing out? That's chill. When you're stressed when you got to figure stuff out, you know. Sometimes we need to figure something out, but then the energy comes to figure it out. Maybe there's a sensation of stress also when we're figuring it out, but then we realize that's just the moment. This is how it is. So even saying we can't figure it, we just don't try to figure it out. That seems like, oh, we figured it out. I figured it out by saying don't figure it out. No, life will come around in another way. And sometimes we need to act like we're figuring it out. You get what I'm saying? This thing's paradoxical. The real awakening is you just you don't know nothing. You don't. It's not a clever thing to say, but it's like, you see what we're talking about? How can we know anything? You don't. Anytime you think you know something, there's another angle that shows, and you're like, oh, I don't really know. And then sometimes you're supposed to feel like you know. You see? That's like that. Language of opposites. That's God's language. See you soon.